Pecuniary, it's all about ringgit. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's live session, Season 9, Episode 1, Pecuniary, in which today we are going to be discussing on a very interesting yet significant topic. In a world filled with consumerism and instant gratification, financial missteps are often mislooked. And according to 𝒕𝒐𝒓𝒆, an economist from America, he himself has stated that stability breeds instability. When time seems fine, that is when we make the riskiest financial decision. So ladies and gentlemen, the topic that we are going to be discussing today is very interesting, in which we are going to be discussing on the crash course of a bad financial decision. My name is Alia Zulfa and I will be your host for tonight by God's will. I will keep you entertained and I will keep you engaged throughout our episode today. Joining us here today in IIUM TV are two very inspiring and significant guests. Each have their own inspiring story and each have their own expertise in finances. Let us welcome you, Professor Dr. Nurul Shahnaz Ahmad Mahdzan, a scholar from the University of Malaya, who has attained her PhD from the University of Nottingham, her MBA from the University of Malaya, and her BBA from Ohio University. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Doctor.
You're welcome.
Okay, joining us here today is also a very inspiring person, Sister Humairah Kamaruzzaman, the ex-president of Economics and Management Sciences 2023-2024. On behalf of IIUMTV, we are so glad that both of you are able to join our episode today.
Thank you for having us today.
Okay. Yeah. So now to both Professor Shahnaz as well as Sister Humairah, how does it feel like to step into the spotlight of IIUM TV today?
Oh, it's something different for me. Alhamdulillah, I have had the experience of being on national TV actually, but this one is very special because it's a production club, run by students. So I think it's something different for me, very unique. So thank you so much for inviting me today.
We are so glad to have you here today, Professor Shahnaz. Now, how about Sister Humairah? How does it feel like to be here today?
I, for one, have never been on national television. So this is the first television for me. It's very new and very exciting. So thank you so much for having me today.
Okay, so thank you so much, both Professor Shahnaz and Sister Humairah. So I have one short question to each of you in regards to our topic, in regards to bad financial decisions. So as to Professor Shahnaz, what are some of the insights that you wish to bring to the table in regards to our topic of bad financial decisions today?
Okay, so I think financial decisions are made daily by everyone. So it's not only students that make financial mistakes, even working people, people of all ages, young, old, So I think it's something our sharing today hopefully will not only benefit students, but everyone. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Shahnaz. Now, to Sister Humairah, what is the most interesting and most exciting part of financial decision that you wish to elaborate for all of us today?
I feel like one of the most important things that we need to carry to everyone else is the importance of understanding how to plan out your finances, making smart decisions, even when you don't have the basics of your finances, right? But there's always ways for you to learn and be smarter with the choices you make. So that's very interesting that we're having this discussion today.
So basically, smart financial decisions,
yes,
right?
Yes, please, right? For everyone,
okay.
Including myself.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so in regards to our first segment here for our live session, we are going to be discussing on the root cause to why is it that some people, they make poor financial decisions. So the first question here in regards to this, I will direct it to Prof. Shahnaz, whereby recently I have read a context written by Robert Kiyosaki. So Robert Kiyosaki is an author of a personal finance book in which he has stated that the reason why people financially struggle is made to two reasons. First, lack of financial education, and second, impulsive buying. Do you believe in that context?
Oh, yes, definitely. I think that actually even people without proper financial education, if they are brought up well, and if they learn from parents, good financial habits, I think they are still able to make good financial decisions. There are other sources of learning about financial education, from reliable sources, go to the proper websites, and not tend to follow your friends, something like that. So definitely, yeah, financial education is very important.
Thank you so much. I do believe that financial education is very important as well, as what Sister Humairah has stated, to make smart financial decisions. So now to Sister Humairah.
Yes, Sister
my question to you here is, what is one part of financial decisions that you think is the most important?
I feel like one of the most important things when it comes to making financial decisions is to have discipline, because you can have as many knowledge as you have acquired. I'm taking a bachelor's in finance, so I've been learning about personal finances, and by right, I should be the person to be making smart financial decisions, right? But if I don't have discipline, if I don't mind the way I spend my money, so it's gonna end up bad, even for someone who has a lot of knowledge as well. So discipline is definitely the key word.
So thank you so much. I do agree with you. Discipline is very important in all aspects of our life, especially in regards to our financial decisions. So have you or any of your peers have regretted any form of financial decision in terms of experiencing your student life, making it the most out of your student life?
Definitely. When you're young is when the time you're making mistakes, right? The most mistakes. So I've definitely made bad financial decisions. And if I were to share a story, this I think stays true to a lot of students as well. We make decisions that are not very, we don't think these things through all that much. So this one night I spent with my friend in our room, and what we did was we were just scrolling through our social medias, and then we saw that Niji, if you know Niji, it's a band, Indonesian band. They'll be conducting a concert in Malaysia. Mind you, we didn't know Niji. We knew of Niji. We knew one song, but we thought, maybe this is something that, why not? So why not is a very dangerous questions to be asking, especially when it comes to your finances, right? We ended up very sadly not going because it was in the middle of our final exams, so it did burn to waste, but at least I'm hoping we have learned something from it, to not make impulsive choices, like you said, right? Impulsive decisions.
Okay. So I do myself sometimes experience what you have experienced. I think it's normal for us students to experience that. So now to Professor Shahnaz, from your experience of being a scholar in a university, I do believe that you mingle around with your students, and I do assume that you interact with people from different backgrounds. So from your experience, what do you think are the mistakes that people normally do when it comes to managing their finances?
Okay, if I may, maybe a little bit of background. I think that the challenges faced by not only students today, but people in general, is that the advancements in technology that's very prevalent now, is that everything is at your fingertips. Everything is so convenient. You can spend so easily. So that is actually a challenge not only to students but to everyone. So that convenience has its benefits, but it also has its risks, which is impulsive buying, and overspending. So sometimes we don't realize that all these small little purchases, buying good coffee or all those things,
in the name
it builds
of
up.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And there's always justifications to it. So I'm investing in my relationships with my friends. I'm making the most out of university, things like that.
Yes.
So do you think that, now we're talking about technology, right? Do you think that social media affects the way how people spend their finances?
Definitely. I'm also minoring in marketing. So what we've learned is to make it as easy as possible for people to come to the decision of actually purchasing, doing the action of purchasing. So technology is advancing so much in terms of making it, like the Prof has said, making it very, very
easy for us to be influenced,
be consuming.
Yes.
You can even not pay now, right? You can pay later. For all you know, it's gonna be inside of your hands without even spending a dime in your pocket, right? So it's very, especially social media, being on TikTok shop is very dangerous, especially not only in my generation.
Yes, I do agree.
Prof punya generation as well. My mom has been spending so much. Yeah, so definitely.
Is that the same case with you, Professor Shahnaz?
Yes, definitely. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. So she's majoring in marketing. So you would know that, the way that people promote and sell items nowadays through live selling, a lot of interaction with consumers, engaging the consumers. So that is actually, of course, it benefits a business, but for consumers, they need to be mindful.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I do believe that we as consumers, we must be mindful. So I do think that there is one aspect, this one key, I would say a trend called the fear of missing out. So this is in the context of, we can also relate this to the context of making our financial decisions. So I believe that we can discuss this later in the next segment. Now to wrap up the first segment here, I would like to first explain to all of you what will the second segment be. The second segment, I will elaborate now that we have talked about the root cause to bad financial decisions. On the second segment, I will talk about what are the causes to not taking good care of your financial decisions. So we have so much more to talk about this. I will see all of you after the break.
So recently someone asked me how I make better decisions, specifically financial decisions. And so I wanted to share with you guys a really cool thought exercise or mental model that I've been playing with that's really been helping my wife and I make really great financial decisions. And it's a very simple question that we ask ourselves before we make a purchase. The question goes like this: if not this, then what? Let me walk you through how that works. What we do is when we're looking at making a purchase, we ask ourselves, if we don't spend that money on this, then what will we do with it? Because ultimately, money sitting in a bank account is not going to make you any happier, whereas spending on something else or an experience or giving the money away even might make you significantly happier. So we just ask ourselves the question, if we don't spend this money on this, what could we spend it on that would give us a better return on investment in terms of our happiness or in terms of better life satisfaction? If we can think of something or find something that will give us more happiness and satisfaction, then we don't make the purchase and we go with that other thing. But on the other hand, most of the times we can't think of something that will give us more joy or satisfaction than whatever it is we're considering purchasing. Now, this especially works for really big purchases such as a new apartment or investing in a new property or potentially buying a new car. And I think you'll find that it's a really, really great exercise to tune yourself to what the higher purpose of spending and money should be, which is not just to acquire more stuff or more money, but to buy yourself more happiness and more pleasure through making wise purchases or giving the money away in a way that brings you satisfaction and joy. Hope that gives you value and joy. Thanks for watching.
Pecuniary, it's all about ringgit. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 9, Episode 1, Pecuniary, in which we are on our second segment of our topic of discussion today, which is the crash course of bad financial decisions. On the first segment, we have explained on the root cause to why is it that some people make poor financial decisions. And on this segment, the goal is to explain on what are the goal is to explain on how poor financial expenses will affect people's lives in the long-term run. So now, Professor Shahnaz, Can you share from your personal experience, have you ever met people who have faced serious consequences from their inability to take good financial decisions?
Yes, I definitely have. I think the worst possible scenario that one could end up in as a result of making poor financial decisions is bankruptcy. And I do know of some people who actually, are bankrupts. So I think that is something that we really need to avoid. So I think some of these people who have been declared bankrupt is actually caused from their own naiveness. Like they're so naive and innocent that they weren't aware that what they did could actually lead to bankruptcy. So the people that I know who have been declared bankrupt are those who make loans. So bankruptcy is a result of defaulting in your loans in large amounts. So the ones that I've heard of is due to business, taking up business loans, and then when the business fail, they end up with this huge amount that they need to repay, and sometimes it implicates people close to them, like relatives who have maybe become guarantors, and that whole situation would really like jeopardize personal relationship also, even with family members.
So do you think that the way for us to avoid bankruptcy is to make sure that we practice the financial method of saving and spending below our means?
Yes, I think the most important thing that needs to be that people need to be aware of is about taking loans. So you can end up in bankruptcy if you have too much loan and you are unable to repay those loans. So you must ensure that, at the point of taking up the loan, of course, the banks will make, do the checkup, to see whether you are able to repay. But sometimes we don't know what will happen in the future. Will we still have a job? If we are in business, will our business still thrive? So, so when you take up loans, you must be aware that you must pay back on time, because if you do not, then, bankruptcy could be the case. And when you have a lot of loans, bankruptcy. So there are many disadvantages when a person is declared bankrupt.
Okay, I think one of the key points that I can take from your explanation is that we need to have financial discipline.
Yes.
So what are some of the ways for us to develop financial discipline?
I think as simple as being aware and jotting down, keeping record of your expenses, making budgets, like being aware of how much loans that you have to pay, what are your expenses, how much you're earning. Simple things like that can help you in your financial discipline.
Okay, thank you so much for your insight, Professor Shahnaz. Now, moving on to Sister Humairah. As a student, how can poor financial decisions in university affect your life as a student in terms of your studies?
All right, so essentially, I think students, you mentioned FOMO before, right?
Yes.
So that I think that happens a lot among students because peer pressure, right? I'm going to tell you another story.
Okay.
So just yesterday, we went out, me and my friends, we all went out for ayam gepuk. Lepas tu, I had this one friend. She said she's already spent 25 ringgit today. She cannot afford to be spending more and eat a plate of ayam gepuk tonight.
Yes.
But then all the other friends are like, but it's ayam gepuk, just have it. It's only a few ringgits. And then she succumbed. So this is also the same friend as before. So maybe I need to find a new friend. Okay, so that's beside the point. But that's what happens when you are with friends. They pressure you, and they're not necessarily bad friends. They just want you to enjoy the same experience as they are. But
Peer
then
pressure.
it reverts back to having the discipline and knowing where you stand financially. And if it's not something that is suitable for your finances, it's fine to say no. And as the ex-president of Economics and Management Student Society, what we do is, serve the welfare of the students, right? So you get to know the issues that are went through by the students. So we have in our faculty alone, there's a lot of B40 students as well, you know, barely having meals in their days. So things like that, especially when you are meant to be in university to learn, those can affect you mentally, physically, because you're working, perhaps working extra hours. So those things will definitely have a negative effect to you as a whole.
Okay, thank you so much, Sister Humairah. I think that is a very insightful point. Now, you have mentioned about, and of course, we all have been noted that you are the ex-president of the Economics and Management Sciences Society. So, in regards to financial decisions, what are some of the improvements that you can that you suggest to develop in regards to financial support system for students?
All right, initiatives wise, the university, I would definitely could do better, but the initiatives that they are currently doing right now, there are constantly free meals for students who are deserving of it. They're offering jobs for students who would like to, you know, gain extra money and whatnot. So those are some of the initiatives that have been made by the university. But then as a community, right, if you're, let's say, friends to I feel like it's very important for you to have sensitivity towards financial issues of others. Peer pressure, you can be guilty of giving peer pressure to people even without wanting to be a bad person. But then being more aware of the things that you are saying and doing is definitely helpful to people who are, you know, in circumstances that are not so good anyways.
Well, I do agree with that. So now to Professor Shahnaz, what are some of the mindsets and as well as what are some of the financial habits that you suggest students to adapt early on in their life?
Okay, I think I did mention about making a budget. I think that's important because when you make a budget, it means that you're planning for the near future, like just for the following month, for example, where you plan on what you intend to spend on, what are the amounts. So if you don't do that simple budget, like a written budget, you are basically unaware. So when you freely, you know, spend your money on things that, you know, don't really matter, the non-essentials, I think it is dangerous when you don't have a budget. So I think firstly is prepare a budget. And then I think one other advice that, you know, that I myself practice is save first before you spend. You know, just at least like 10%. Make it compulsory. You know, if you're already working, you know, when you first get a job, that should be the first thing that you do. You know, just deduct 10% and put it in an account or a saving account or investment that is difficult for you to withdraw from. Okay, so automatic saving, you know, yeah. So those are among the things.
Okay, so basically, saving money.
Yes.
I do like it when we highlight the importance of saving money, because I think saving money is one of the problem that students have nowadays, as mentioned by Sister Humairah just now. It's because of the fear of missing out with your friends, peer pressures, right? And I do believe that saving is also one of the most efficient financial decision-making skills, as even Warren Buffett, an economist, has stated for us to not save after we have spent, but save our money first before we spend our money.
Do you mind if I ask a question?
Yes.
And budgeting doesn't have to be hard, right? If it's very simple in the sense that you're just jotting down. It's not something very technical. It's not something that you need to have very big knowledge on.
No, it's the discipline again. Discipline.
Definitely.
Yeah, and making it a habit. Because once you start, then I think from young until old, you still keep up with that habit, you know.
And I think one of the ways for us to adapt these discipline is by way of financial awareness as well. So do you think that financial awareness is important to students in regards to their financial decision-making skills?
It definitely is. I think students must be aware of the legitimate saving and investment avenues to avoid from being scammed and putting their money into high-risk assets that, you know, they might lose their money if they, you know, go into those kind of high risk, and some of them are scams, you know. So
Yes.
financial awareness and educating yourself about financial matters is definitely important. So go to the source, you know, go to Securities Commission website to see what are the legitimate investments, and put your money in where it's safe.
Yes, where it is safe, right? So I believe that we have a lot more to talk about this and to discuss, and we'll see all of you right after this break.
Five 7,003 a year times 2 years 14,006, 3 years 21,009, 10 years 73,000. Compound interest 78 grand. Say 20 a day, and you always keep broke away. The reason why people don't have money is not how much money you get paid, it's how much money you save. I know people who work McDonald's minimum wage, and they make more money than people make $40 an hour because they understand where they at. So they save trying to get higher. And then the people who make more money, they spend more money, and they get more habits. You know what I mean? Yeah. Hey, good luck in life. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you gotta save money. Without saving money, you got nothing to invest. That makes sense?
Yeah. That was some good advice.
Pecuniary, it's all about ringgit. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to our third and last session for today's episode, in which on the first session we have discussed on the root causes to poor financial decisions. On the second segment, we have discussed the long-term effect of wrong and also bad financial decisions. And on our third segment here today, we are going to be discussing further on some of an interesting financial statements, in which in this segment we are going to be playing some sort of more of an engagement or interaction with our guests here today, in which I will be giving out some financial statements, and our guests, both Professor Shahnaz and Sister Humairah, will hold up these cards of whether it's a fact or a myth, and we'll explain to why is it that they think that the financial statement is a fact, or why do they think that the financial statement is a myth.
Thank you.
Alright, so this is going to be an interesting part of this live session today.
I can follow your answer.
I've seen this on TikTok, but I don't know how it
Yeah,
goes.
this is your time.
Okay, so the first financial statement I have to both of you is having a credit card means that you are automatically in debt.
Myth.
Myth. Okay, why so, Professor Shahnaz and Sister Humairah?
Until you use it, you're not in debt, you know. So if you don't swipe or tap it or use it online, then you're not in debt until you use it.
Yeah, so just, you know, us having possession of the credit card itself will not put us into debts, right? Yes, I do agree with that point. Now, the second financial statement here, I think Professor Shahnaz has actually mentioned this earlier, is that you should always save at least 10% of whatever money you have, no matter the amount of the money that you have attained.
Fact.
Well, that's pretty self-explanatory because it has been explained earlier. Okay lah, since that has been explained by Professor Shahnaz, I think we can elaborate to several more of the financial statements that we have. The third financial statement is, if you don't have a stable income, then there is no point in budgeting.
Myth.
Yes, I myself agrees to it as well, because I think personally, if you don't have a stable income, that is when you start to do your budgeting, right?
Smart. True,
Exactly.
true, true.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I think after this you can give a talk.
So now you sit here and then I can sit there.
Okay, well, try to make that work. Okay, now, well, you have mentioned about buy now, pay later, right, Sister Humairah? So the financial statement here is in regards to that.
Okay.
Buy now, pay later apps like Atomy or SPay Later are completely safe and interest-free.
I don't think it's completely.
Yeah, it's not completely true.
Yeah.
It's true, but it can be a myth
Yes,
as well.
yes. It can
Yeah.
be zero interest, but
If you default, the charges are very high.
true. And I think for SPay Later, there's like if you choose like a longer period to pay, and then there's interest being put on you. So there's only a few offering zero charges on interest.
I do agree with that. I do also believe that when you do pay now, buy now, pay later, it can actually lead to overspending as well.
Definitely.
Overspending,
Yes.
and some of these apps, they do charge you if there is a form of hidden cost or you pay late in terms of your payment.
Yes,
That's
very high.
essentially-
They charge
yes.
per day.
Oh, they charge per
Yes,
day.
they
it can
Do
be like 10 ringgit per day, when
True.
maybe the installment could be like maybe 30 ringgit, but the late charge penalty is 10 ringgit per day.
I see. That is a new
Yes.
knowledge for me, and
Yes.
I think a new knowledge for all of us as well. Now, the last financial statement here is financial literacy can help you feel more confident and in control of your future.
Fact.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Power to you.
Okay, so why do you think that? Well, one of the what people would normally say is that you cannot be very confident when you have a lot of money, meaning that the money can disappear anytime that it could due to unforeseen circumstances. Now, is that kind of is that contrary to the term where financial literacy can help you feel more confident, or is there a balanced approach for us to view having a lot of money as feeling secure?
So obviously, when you are more financially literate, you have the knowledge, right? You have the awareness, how to deal with your money. You know where to invest, or you just have the knowledge. So that would definitely make you more confident, in making your financial decisions. But whether you really implement that knowledge into action and behavior, that's another story. You could have all the knowledge,
Yes.
True.
you don't implement it, nothing. There's no positive results, and you have to put it into action.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have done with our session of financial statements, money myth or money fact with both of our guests today. So now we are going to continue with several other questions that could be elaborated and could be explained to both of our guests here, Professor Shahnaz and Sister Humairah. Professor Shahnaz, as someone that has gained a lot of knowledge in regards to economics, do you think, what are some of the ways that you think is the best way for students to financially secure their future, other than what we have mentioned earlier about putting money in investment banks and creating financial budgets? Other than that, are there anything else that can secure a student's finance in the future?
Okay, so I think like once students, graduate, and I think Humairah, you're going to graduate soon, right? You're doing your internship. So you will be earning money, okay, inshallah. So as what I did, many years ago, when I first graduated and got a job, was last time, insurance takaful, so we had agents. So that was the first thing like I did, was to sign up a policy for my savings.
That's
So
smart.
savings, it was like maybe like a 20-year saving, you know. So sometimes I feel like it's hard to get into the discipline, but when you start, you know, you just, as I said, do the automatic deductions and don't think about it, but you see the results like after 20 years. It may seem very long, but that's a traditional way that my generation save money. I know the Generation Z, nowadays Gen Z, maybe they have other ways, they want things fast, but you know, I would always caution, there's no such thing as investment that give, you know, that is low risk, but you know, and so it's risk and return, you know, it goes hand in hand.
It feels if it feels too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
So yes, I do believe in that approach as well, because my parents have followed the same approach where they themselves believe in investments, long-term investments. Okay, so now a question to Sister Humairah. As a student, I do believe that you are exposed to some of your friends who takes PTPTN loans. So do you think somehow, does that affect them financially during their first stage, once they have secured themselves a job in the future?
It's a lot for a person, you know, going out there to you graduate and then you want to find a job, and you may not even have found one yet, and you're already in debt, like a lot, right? Sorry, your question was?
So my question was, I mean, you have been exposed to people who takes PTPTN loans, right? Do you think that after they have started working later in the future, them having to repay back the loan when they themselves do not have enough savings will affect them financially?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot for a person, right? To know that you already have big commitments even before you started earning. And when you earn, you're not going to make big money at the start. But then I feel like it's still very important for you to pay your loans. I think there's ways for you to learn how to manage it. There's a lot, as Prof has mentioned, there's a lot of resources available to understand how you can make it easier for you. So perhaps...
Can I add something about this PTPTN loan?
Yes.
Maybe students are not aware. Actually, it will affect their credit score. You know, so there's a report called 𝒃𝒑. Okay, so 𝒃𝒑, it actually it will, you know, red flag if you pay late in your loans. So PTPTN loan also will raise a red flag if you don't pay. So that's gonna affect, you know, students' credit score. Credit score is important to be maintained for them to make other loans like a car loan or housing loans.
Cars.
So you must keep your record clear and nice so that you have a good credit score.
Okay, so thank you so much, Professor Shahnaz and Sister Humairah, for your time today. I do get a lot of insights from both of your experiences and wisdom. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached towards the end of our live session. Do not forget to follow our social media on Instagram, YouTube, X, Facebook, LinkedIn and TikTok. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and I will see you next time.